So the main event of last year definitely was the acceleration in inflation. For example, the ECB was expecting inflation at the end of the year at 2%, and it was 10%, so a big surprise. This was partly due to the Ukraine war, also to the energy crisis, but it's not the only reasons for us. The consequence of this acceleration in inflation is that we had a significant increase in interest rates. And so all the fixed income products had very poor performance last year. It was very impressive. And if you look at the equity market, it was more mixed, but generally it was very poor performance, and it was particularly true for markets that were at very high level at the beginning of last year, and for example, for the Nasdaq. So in the US, we had some good news recently about inflation, but it was very concentrated in good inflation. If you look at services inflation, it's still very high, and we think it will continue to be high as long as wages are strong. And we think that wages will continue to be strong as long as the labor market is very tight. And currently, it's very, very tight with an unemployment rate at 3.5%. So we think that the Fed will have no other choice than to continue to tighten monetary policy, to slow down the economy. And we think that it's very unlikely that a soft landing will be enough. And so we forecast a recession at some point. The main question now is when. Our main forecast is that the recession should happen between the mid of this year and the beginning of next year. But we monitor that all the time. It's true that we had a very bad indicator recently with the ISM Services Index, which declined significantly. So it remains an open question, the timing, but we think that we will have a recession. The situation is a bit different in the Eurozone. We know that we will have a slowdown in inflation in the next few months due to base effect linked to energy prices. But if you look at core inflation, it's still very strong. And in fact, we have almost the same situation as in the US. I mean that the wages are growing rapidly. The job market is very tight. In fact, growth is stronger than what we were expecting because we didn't have the energy crisis during this winter. And also because fiscal policies were very supporting. And so growth is still quite strong, surprisingly. We have seen a reacceleration in job creation in Germany, for example, which was a surprise. And so we think that the ECB needs a real slowdown, and so they will have to continue to tighten monetary policy to make sure that they have the slowdown they want.
As regards Japan, we indeed have an acceleration in inflation, and it's backed by an acceleration in wages. It's still not as strong as elsewhere, but it's a real acceleration. So the Bank of Japan surprised the markets by adjusting its monetary policy in the very last day of 2022. Is it the start of a monetary tightening cycle? We must be cautious because the Bank of Japan has committed to spending a lot of time with inflation above its target, but it's something to watch this year. As regards China, the main issue is not with inflation, but obviously with the exit from the zero COVID policy that is happening much quicker than what we expected before. In the short term, it has a big impact on economic activity. It's negative, but it means that we'll rebound later.
Yeah, so 2023 should be again a complicated year. We think that the fight against inflation is not over, so central banks will have to continue to tighten monetary policy. Having said that, interest rates are much higher than they were 1 year ago, and it's the same for spreads. And so we think that it should make sense to start reinvesting in fixed income. So we have already invested in investment grade, in Lazard Patrimoine, but probably we will start investing in high yield in the coming months. And probably at some point we will increase again the modified duration of the portfolio. Regarding equity, we will wait because we know that in the past we have never seen the lowest point in the equity market before the start of the recession. And we think we will have a recession coming at some point. And so we will wait the beginning of this recession before reinvesting in equities.